Hey guys, so in the last video I've talked about Volcano, Fabfilter's filter plugin. So in this video I thought it might be cool to talk about Timeless, their delay plugin. And to call it a delay plugin is a little bit of an understatement because we can do a lot of things with this. And in this video what I want to show you is how we can create some quite common effects with just a delay plugin. So what I have right now is just an arpeggiated sound, this one, using Chromaphone by Applied Acoustics, excellent plugin. And I've loaded Timeless 2 here, and I'm going to set the dry level all the way down and the wet level all the way up. So now we should hear only the delays, which already sounds quite pretty. And then what I'm going to do is, while holding down Option, I'm going to set the feedback amount down. And because I hold down Option, this changes the feedback for both channels. So we can see we have the left channel at the top here and the right channel at the bottom. And I'm going to do the same for the cross feedback. So cross feedback means that the delay of the left channel is allowed to go to the right channel as well. So you get some feedback overlapping, like there's some bleed between the channels. But I'm going to set that down, and then the timing is now set to 350 milliseconds and 353. I'm going to set those both down as well to 5. And then let's hear what we got. So now it sounds almost the same, right? Especially if I disable these filters as well. It's the same sound, it's just delayed 5 milliseconds. Now what I'm going to do is, let's first try to make a chorus effect. And to do that, I'm going to add a new XLFO, and I'm going to link that to both of the delay times. So if you think about it, a chorus effect, what it does is it creates multiple voices. Check, we've got that. We've got our incoming signal, and it gets duplicated to these two channels with independent timing settings. And then when you think about a real choir, you have a bunch of people all singing slightly out of tune and all singing slightly out of time. So with this we can mimic that effect. If we create very small timing differences, we should get something like a chorus or a vibrato kind of sound. So let's set both of the delay times to modulate with an amount of only 0.002. And then the range is now, so the speed is now set to 1 Hertz. Let's hear what that sounds like. Can you hear that we get kind of a vibrato effect there? We could make this a little bit more extreme, something like that. So this can smear your sound a little bit. And if you go over to chorus here, there are a lot of examples in the presets on how to create variations on this. A lot of cool things you can do with, for example, stereo choruses or anything like that. One thing that comes to mind is you could add XLFO, another one, to the panning ring of the wet mix, which means that this effect is going to pan from the left to the right every bar. And then you could set that a little bit down, and then you could add the dry mix so that this is just sort of a layer on the background. Right, so they can really nicely thicken your sound. Let's take one other example. Let's go to a flanger next. So what a flanger is pretty much exactly the same as a chorus. It just has higher feedback settings, and feedback just means the output of the plugin, in this case going back to the input. So let's try that. Let's set the dry level down, and the delay time is already being modulated, which happens in the flanger as well. We just need some higher feedback. So let's hold Option and start increasing the feedback. And also, to not make this a very high tone, I'm going to set the delay time a little bit slower. So you should recognize that sound as sort of a flanger, but it's a little bit fast and it's a little bit extreme. So I'm going to set the rate down here, and I'm going to set the modulation amount back to 0.002. a very small amount. So there we get sort of our flanger sound. We can try to make this slower still. That sounds more like it. Did you notice that when I changed one of the times here to 5.2 instead of 5 milliseconds, the sound became very stereo? And that is, this is called the Haas effect, or in Logic you can use the sample delay for this. It basically means that because the timing interval is so small, we still hear it as one signal, but one signal is later in one speaker, and that makes it appear very stereo. We can make this a little bit more extreme still. We don't even have to use any feedback or any fancy things for this. This works with anything. So let's use this in combination with some of these filters here, because these filters, they're super fun to use as well. So I'm gonna go with a lower feedback setting, so that means that this is gonna sound more like a chorus, and then I'll speed up this LFO, which is gonna make it sound more like a vibrato, which has a pretty sound to it. And now let's use one of the filters. Right now they're configured in serial, so they're filter 1 is feeding into filter 2. But let's use only filter 1 for now, and let's see if we can get this thing to feedback, which should be pretty easy. So that's nice, but it's a static tone. What we could do is we could check out our melody, which happens to be in A minor, and then we could tune our filter to that. So A has a pitch of, I think it's A4 has a pitch of 440, so we can do 220 as well, and this will produce the note A. And if you're unsure about that, you can use a tuner on your channel. And you can also use a MIDI to frequency conversion. So I have that in my Logic notes right here. You can see A3 is 220 Hertz. So we could use this to add a sort of an A note drone under our melody. A little bit extreme, but we can control that using another XLFO to control the peak value. So we could set this up to we can create a plug kind of shape, which is on the left right with that outer ring there. You can set that to the peak, and then let's set it to 8 notes. Of course, we could also set this up to just the wet mix here, or the wet level as they call it. And if you want this to be a little bit smoother, we can set either the glide, or we can set the balance a little bit off. So that avoids those clicks. And now we can add the dry level back again. No, I like that, although I would like to have one more tone in there. So what I'm going to do finally is I'm going to choose another XLFO. I believe we can have up to 8 of these. So really there's really a ton of fun stuff we can do here. And let's set this to be 1 bar, and maybe I'll just create 4 steps for now. And I'll set the glide off, and I'll set this to the pitch range. So I do that by clicking that little keyboard icon there. And now this has a range of 2 octaves if you control the filter frequency. So let's try something like this maybe, where it just goes up and down an octave. And of course we need to set that there. So now, because I had that button auto mute self oscillation, this is automatically going to stop when I hit stop in Logic. If I click this to be off, then it's going to go indefinitely. So I also want to set the wet level modulation off. Actually, I can just remove this whole LFO, and I'll set this up, and I'll set the dry down. So it's pretty nice. Let's try one more. Let's try adding the raw filter, and let's set that to a bandpass as well. And then let's tune that to be 440, or actually let's tune it to be 220. And then let's set the same XLFO to that. And then I'm gonna add another one for the panning, which is gonna be quite nice. Or actually, what would be even cooler is if we set this to this left right thing here, so that these are gonna switch around. So it's gonna switch around the panning of those 2 channels that we have. I'll set this down, and just to hear that, I'll disable the filters for now. And now let's add some feedback to that. And let's actually try to high pass that, or band pass. Let's see. Yeah, so I think let's leave it at that. I really like that. So we have a filter 2, which is set to a raw type. And my favorite, by the way, is this easygoing one. It's a very nice sound. Then it has a quite high peak value. It almost starts feedbacking. Sometimes we hear a little bit of a tone in there. And I've tuned that to 880 hertz, which is a multiple of A, which is the key that we're in. And now these left and right channel knobs or pan knobs are being controlled with this LFO, and then we control the filter frequency of 2. We're not using 1 right now, and we can just add that in just below our actual signal. And you could add one other LFO to the actual panning ring here to make that pan around as well. You can set that to a free rate. You can even choose some sort of random types. Here you have some presets, a sample and hold, full glide, or let's see, heartbeat. That might be nice, something like this. And this is now the path that the panning is going to take. Right, I hope that gives you some new ideas, things to mess around with. There's much more to discover here. We still haven't talked about the MIDI sources. We haven't talked about the freeze, which is kind of cool. It can sort of freeze the signal instantly. Really, this plugin, you can explore with this for at least a day and keep coming up with new sounds. A really fun one. So I hope you got something out of that, and I'll see you guys in a new video.
If you're an aspiring music producer looking for that breakthrough moment to evolve your sound, check out our online mentorship network at Pyramind.com.